Hey everyone, welcome to Mike's Own Creation. My name is Mike, and welcome back to the channel. This is the first installment after a bit of a hiatus. The last video was an installment of the Struggle Bus series where I literally forgot the name of the channel, Struggle Bus, and kind of sat there for 10 minutes, and then I used that as an opportunity to play around with editing and clickbait titles and basically just mess around. So I hope no one actually, if they did watch it, I hope you enjoyed it, I guess. I shot some other videos in the Struggle Bus series. So I shot this one about testing the various upgrades to my microphone arm and vibration using this like spectral analysis app I found. I shot another one about using a Parrot teleprompter attachment to my camera, and I attached my phone via USB. Okay, so Scooby. All right. Some other Lego ones. I really, one thing I want on this channel is I want it to be someone to live vicariously through me in the construction of this large-scale Lego MOC. And part of that is kind of really, frankly, the tedious parts of Lego, or maybe just tutorial content. So, like, I shot some footage around how I do my labels, how I actually do my storage, how I wash the parts, and it was all really engaging content. And I was writing my script, and I just completely lost any motivation to work on this channel at all, until I was just watching TV one day.
May I ask why you got on the bus with no pants?
How else am I supposed to get to the pants store, idiot?
It seems silly, but it's such a simple, obvious method. If you don't have pants, you need to buy pants. So direct in its purpose, and it really spoke to me. If you're walking down the streets of Seattle and you see a full-grown wild salmon in the sewer, you grab it. And it doesn't matter if you have bad Wi-Fi or if there's a blizzard coming and all you have is a bag of Cheetos. You need to set out what you achieve. If you have no pants, go to the pants.
Idiot.
If you want to build a giant Lego tower, you're going to have to click some bricks. Just that satisfying feelings when they click together. Or that feeling when you complete a complex Technic construction by snapping the axle rod in. It's these core mechanics that have made Lego one of the world's most recognizable brands, catering to people from all ages, from children with their over-engineered Duplo sets. Nowadays, Lego basically makes licensed products for virtually everything out there, including Harry Potter and, of course, Star Wars. Star Wars saved the company in the late 90s because they were doing wacky stuff like make this.
And Idris is on the loose. Get ready to catch it.
So for older fans of Lego, Lego actually has an alternate system known as Technic. This also uses licensed product, in this case Jeep. And what's different about Technic is Technic uses studless construction. So instead of plates and bricks, you have lift arm beams, axles, and pins. It's a different model and it's more functional, but the aesthetic is questionable in my opinion. But you can make things with winches, and winches are pretty awesome. Lego publishes a variety of sets that are 16 up, 18 up, catered towards the adult fans, or the AFOLs as they're known. The piece counts go up, the prices go up, but fundamentally the builds are very similar. Although I will say, I watched a lot of Lego commercials, and the kid actors are definitely having way more fun than the adult actors who primarily stare and click models. But you can still have fun as an adult. You can build an NES with an old school CRT TV that actually works if you get another Mario thing. So the question is, if there are so many kid fan of Legos, KFOLs, why are there comparatively so few AFOLs, adult fan of Legos? Video games or Netflix or something easier. Maybe they picked up a team sport like soccer. Perhaps they started dating and would prefer to nuzzle their girlfriend's head in public. Could just be something ordinary like school or work, or just plain old adulting. And this phenomenon is so common in the Lego community, it has a special name. The Dark Ages, or this cold, joyless interregnum between the creativity of childhood to the monotony of adulthood. And navigating that chasm is really what this channel is all about. I'd like to explore all aspects of Lego culture and the A4 community, because I myself just left the Dark Ages. I'm just a guy working on a MOC, aka my own creation. And with that, I'd like to welcome you to the channel Mike's Own Creation. Let's go click some bricks.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Saturn V rocket led the first astronauts to the moon. And so perhaps fittingly, it was actually my first Lego set coming out of the Dark Ages. So I really enjoyed the build. It's widely regarded as one of the best sets out there. It's currently in production. But when I got to the end, you have to build these little dinky blue display stand. I just thought it was so lame to sort of, you know, build this rocket and then put it on its side. You know, it should stand vertically. So I had some leftovers, or table scraps as they're known. The blue piece in particular, these blue girders, really fascinated me, and I just sort of looked at them for a long time, and I kind of got this idea of scale, and like, what if these were massive? And the cylinders were elevator shafts. And I built my first MOC from this idea. And there are 3 distinct levels. Try to stay with me here. You have under, the mids, and above. Three different worlds, 3 different populations, 3 different universes, really, that only are tethered together by these tiny elevators. There is a scene, this is a spoiler for the movie Apocalypto, but at the end of the movie Apocalypto, they get to the beach. As they get to the beach, the Spanish have arrived. And they all just kind of look at each other like, WTF, because they have no concept to relate to each other. This is kind of the basis of sort of this fantasy world that I created. And at this point, I didn't have any Lego bricks. So I started writing. And I kept writing for a while. And I had, you know, a fairly credible multiverse, I think, with a pretty interesting concept and some characters. But I kind of hit a problem, you know, after a while. I kind of thought about it, and you know, I just kind of put it away. So then on one lonely, boring quarantine evening, I remembered that I had a Statue of Liberty set I got from my dad, and I took that out and started working on it. And then the tower, which I had continued to headcanon world build throughout the years, was really present in my thoughts. And as I continued to build, I got about yay high and realized I was gonna build the tower again in Lego. So I started building with the pieces that I had, and I found out this thing called microscale, where you capture the essence of something in a very small design, like an 8x8 or a 16x16. I decided to capture the tower, which I was imagining was roughly the size of Colorado, on a 32x32 base plate, but it wasn't working for me. The elevator ended up being this tiny 2x2 square, and it wasn't fitting what I had in my head. So I decided at a minimum, I would like to have a functioning elevator. So I threw together this rough POC where the motor was underground, and then there was about 12 inches between each level, which I figured was about enough room for me to build tall microscale buildings inside, as well as kind of maneuver around physically. I figured that the surface area of the tower was roughly the size of Colorado with the density of Tokyo. You can see right there, there's actual things hanging off the edge of the tower because the tower is just bursting with people all the way until you get to the mysterious land above. The first elevator prototype was very primitive. It relied on the Hand of God, which is basically anytime a Lego set has something that a human will just operate. Basically, you would just flip that little red switch and the gear would jam itself into the chain. I had a lot of difficulty finding an appropriate elevator shaft, but I eventually found these stainless steel TIG rods. They were the perfect diameter, except that the brand name was stamped into the rods. So I had to do a little bit of metalworking to get that out before they slid into the Technic beam hole. And with that, the elevator was ready for its inaugural test drive. It was a bit of a rough ride. It had an XL motor with 0 gearing that was just running at maximum RPM and going, I mean, you could see it. What I did like about it, it had those little chain rods at the top, which I literally forgot about until just now, and we'll probably incorporate back into the elevator. So the elevator, whilst very primitive, was a major proof of concept for the overall tower design, but I was still very much struggling with the concept of scale. By this point, the tower had expanded to 2 48 by 48 base plates for combined width of 96 studs. In this first iteration, I whiteboarded out the overall terrain of the land above Under. In the lore, Under is actually the subterranean world and then the above ground world, which are very interconnected, much more than the other levels of the platform are. They're basically more comparable to different countries than different worlds altogether. And this above ground land was actually fairly important to the story and the overall integration of the different tiers. So I really wanted to keep it, but again, I was struggling with the scale, so I decided to give the elevators a bit more breathing rooms. So I added 2 more 32 by 32 base plates, and that didn't actually last very long. And at this point, I abandoned the micro scale and wanted to incorporate the story elements back into the physical tower. So I found these 16 by 32 base plates, which allowed me to round out the overall footprint, but it stayed the same. And the addition of the minifig scale made that things are going to be more play action or hand of God style things with some motors, but not a ton. So then I actually started building the area around the elevator, and now I had a whole new problem. So how do you practically show how these little minifigs are going to operate this elevator and move ore around and show the mechanics? So this meant I needed to incorporate a lot of Great Ball Contraptions mechanics, some Mindstorm robotics, and other advanced techniques that I was in no way prepared to handle. So I purchased what is known as the Bible. This book is highly recommended even if you don't ever plan on building with Lego. It just breaks down a lot of mechanical engineering type things. And the author, Sorrell, is just an all-around cool guy. I'll link to his blog below. He does some amazing things with Lego, and he always incorporates pets into his videos. So here is a little hamster going through the Land Rover Defender, which is a really cool set that is actually I have for parts. So you'll see a lot of the olive greens around the tower. So based on the book, I decided to make these trusses for the corners and the middle of the tower. To keep the center of the tower from collapsing, I use these pillars of Duplo and something I'm calling Ply Lego, which the construction of which is extremely illegal, but I will be covering it in a future video and also talking about what illegal means. Which brings us to our final form. At this point, the tower picked up another 32 studs for a final stud count of 48 studs deep and 208 stubs wide. Officially qualifies the tower as a SHIP, which stands for Seriously Huge Investment in Parts. And I do believe this is the final size of the tower because this is the size of the table that it lives on. Although I do think I can go a little bit deeper. So the tower can be broken down into 4 major quadrants. The first of which I'm working on is the lower right quadrant, which is ruled by the Troll King Karn. This quadrant is where the motor resides. And when I was building the motor, the first Technic set that I bought was actually this car and transporter, which I bought because I wanted to build the car for experience, and then I wanted to use the transporter for parts. And then once I had these kind of red Technic beams in play, I started to play with that, that color scheme of red, yellow, orange. And then I was thinking about, contrasting that with the gray And then I started thinking about, of course, Mario, being a two-dimensional diorama, the tower. I think maybe I can get some inspirations from sort of 2D old school side scrollers and Metroidvanias. And with that, I realized that I had to build a fire bar. And I went through a couple renditions of this until I kind of picked this simplistic one. But the main attraction, of course, is the motor. So I'm going to be upgrading. Currently, the motor is operating on 2 Lego XL motors. I'm going to be upgrading that to 4 once my shipment from Germany comes in. So from these 2 chains that flow past a chasm of lava to the bottom of the elevator, and then that propagates into the elevator chain itself when the car goes up. But the actual car that I've been working on is about twice the weight, or giving it twice the motor. So the period between being a K-full and an A-full is known as the Dark Ages. What's next for the A-fulls? What's their end game? What happens to the A-fulls once you turn on the light? All right, thank you for watching. This was my grand opening tower reveal. And I only have one more thing to talk about, and that is the opposite of what Simon Sinek says, and I'm going to close with the why I am doing this. My goal for the tower is pretty simple. Summer 2023, I'm going to crate up the entire tower and schlep it out to Brick Fair, VA. And all I want is my 15 minutes of fame with Josh Hanlon. I don't think that's too much to ask. So as you might have noticed, this video took a lot of time to put together. Is culmination of, I have year-old clips in this video. But from this point forward, it's a new beginning. It's a new day, and we only have this many days left until this thing has to be ready for the convention. So I'm going to try actually doing a lot of this stuff directly on Twitch, and then maybe doing some highlights on YouTube, like once a month or once a, whatever. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like this, please subscribe. And as always, have a great day. This is a follow-up video. I am terrified of Leo sitting right here next to all of these like incredibly tall and fragile Legos. All right.